Andrea is one of the founding members of Inspire Brands Asia, who undertook an acquisition of Anytime Fitness Asia almost 1 year ago exactly. Andrea has been a long-standing member of the Singapore fitness community and is also a committee member now of the Singapore Fitness Alliance. Andrea, hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
1 year ago, I suppose you've always been with Anytime Fitness Asia, and then you made the bold step to work with a number of colleagues to acquire Anytime Fitness Asia under the new umbrella of Inspire Brands. Talk us through a little bit about what Inspire Brands is, a little bit through about the transaction and the last 12 months.
Sure. So the last 12 months has been, as we've all had, an absolute roller coaster. I think when Johannes and Luke and I were doing this deal, it took a year to construct and negotiate, and that was an immense undertaking. And then right when we decided to close the deal, then the pandemic happened basically just before we closed. So we had to do a lot of digging deep and really, looking at the brand and each other. And ultimately, we just loved the brand so much and knew that it would survive through whatever. It's very strong, and we could do it. So yeah, we dug in and signed the deal, and then since then, this whole 12 months has been crazy.
What does Inspire mean to you? There's probably many words you could choose, but you chose Inspire. Why?
The name of the brand, of course, wasn't at the forethought of any of our minds when we were doing the whole deal. It was just all that. And but then when we sat down together and we wanted a word that explained to everybody almost immediately what the company really was about. And looking at our parent company of Anytime Self-Esteem Brands, it says it all, right? So we're very inspired by Chuck and Dave, and so this word inspire, we wanted people to feel that they could do more. We want to inspire people to do more, to reach further heights, to grow, and just be the best version they can be, and hopefully through our brands. So.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. You want your brand to resonate exactly what you want it to be, which is inspire, which is inspirational. Let's maybe pick on another few words that maybe describe your last 12 months. I know that we've heard many words, as Sean touched on them earlier, determination, resiliency. Yeah. But what words do you think have felt most at home to you in the past 12 months?
I think there's a lot of choice words that we could say, but we'll save that for the beer later. But mostly this whole pandemic has been challenging, but opportunity. I think with any challenge, it's tough to go through, and we just recently did a leadership change with our head office, and change is really difficult at the best of times, and this whole pandemic has just been one change after another. And that's challenging when you're going through it and living that challenge, and you feel like in some instances it's the biggest thing you've ever gone through. But I do believe, and the team believe, that whatever challenge you go through, you grow from, and you always come out the other side with new learnings, new skills, and so there lies the opportunity to grow and be better.
Let me pick on growth. I think it's an incredible word these past 12 months because people have been sat at home or they have been restricted in their movement. People have taken the opportunity to grow. What has growth meant for you, both in terms of personally and business in the last 12 months?
Growth to me is everything. For me, if you're not growing, if you're not always learning, then what are you doing? I think I'd be really bored, and that's never a good thing. So growing is all about learning, always be learning, just trying your best, and that's not just for me personally, that's how we believe for our company as well. So we've got 800 plus staff. We want to always see them growing and going through their own personal development, as well as their success for the business as well. So there's all sorts of opportunities in growing that. and then of course for our franchisees and their staff as well. So how do we grow them to be, better and to be more profitable and to be more successful? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're driven by, is their success. We wouldn't be here without them. So it's growth in every aspect of the word. And our people are, our members. So how do we grow them? How do we get them to achieve their goals? And also our investors, right? We have investors in, throughout all the 9 markets, and how do we help them grow their portfolios as well? So
let's stick on people, because I think this pandemic has shown that those companies that have invested in their people, Andrea, in terms of upskilling, in terms of getting them used to this new digital environment, they are surviving and at times thriving. How are you investing in your people? How are you investing in your teams? How are you investing in the headquarters staff, your franchisees? What skill sets are you trying to give them that will make them better people, better businesses in the future?
Yeah, as I said, it's learning is everything, and we have an amazing learning and development team actually, and they've really pivoted through this whole pandemic to go from face-to-face learning as we did. We'd fly out to each country previously, or rather I should say Maurice's team did previously to the pandemic, and then we had to do that adjustment and find ways to do engaging digital learning for the teams and for the franchisees across the different cultures that we have. And adjust that, because like Asia is not one country, right? We've got 9 markets, and they're individually very, very different of how they learn, how you interact with each other, and how they want to be acquiring that knowledge. So we've had to adjust to that and make sure that we're putting out more content than we have ever done before, to make sure that we're giving every opportunity for the franchisees to succeed through this. I think, maybe there was some complacency with learning before. That's just one of those things that you have to do. But through this pandemic, I think it's really brought to the forefront that you've got to stay current, and you've got to always be learning. So we've been able to do that. And I think we've put a lot of webinars together. We've brought in a lot of the experts from outside the industry as well, to try and give a different perspective to the learning. A lot of franchisees and staff, people, it's human nature, you learn differently from different people. So we really tried to give as broad a spectrum as we could, as well as bringing in our third-party vendors, such as the International Fitness Academy out of Australia, to really level up our personal trainers. We wanted to bring in a company that's got the globally recognized certifications and up the ante on that front as well. So lots of different fronts.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts on obviously training and learning? It's now remote. And people are having to try and educate themselves from the comfort of their own home, their office, their living room, their garage, wherever that may be. How easy was it for you to try and get the Anytime Fitness Asia family to pivot? Hate to use the word.
Yeah.
Pivot to learning digitally, to learning remotely, and trying to increase and upskill themselves with personal accountability?
Really good question, Ross. I think in the very beginning, we didn't know how long this was going to go, right? Everybody, so, we were thinking, okay, we'll just do some digital. But of course, as we went along, we realized that this is going to be the long haul. And so really making our digital platforms and our digital learning robust enough and engaging enough that people do want to go on and they do want to learn it. And we took a lot of, learnings from Fit Summit as well. Like you guys pivoted really well and jumped to online, and so we took a lot of that, and the team spent just hours of their weekends just learning different modalities and how to make the digital learning sessions more engaging, breakout rooms, and all the rest of it. So yeah, they've done a really good job through that.
Now, one of your key roles, Andrea, is to support the franchisees, which is a difficult role in the very best of times, given the fact that you have such a large franchise base. What have been the challenges to doing that over the course of the last 12 months?
Yeah, it is a massive role doing franchise support, because at the end of the day, they're people and they hurt. And this whole pandemic has been, hurting all our bottom line, let alone our mental health, and our family structures have changed, homeschooling. So that mental stress combined with the financial stress has been a huge impact across the markets. So really it was a lot of listening, a lot of phone calls, a lot of empathy and understanding, and just trying our best to listen as well as provide the increased operational support to help them get through this, because as good as the Anytime Fitness brand is, you can just truck along and it can be profitable and amazing, but through a pandemic, you've got to follow the system. You've got to really dig deep and follow everything that's put out there. And so that was another opportunity. It was really, drilling down to those gaps and then helping them fill those gaps and increase the learning through there.
Yeah, one of the key, I suppose, takeaways that we've saw from the franchise market is the strength of the franchise support system has never been more important to help companies get through. Anytime Fitness, from its headquarters, obviously with Chuck and Dave at Self-Esteem, have built such a strong franchise support system. How have you leaned on that? How have you improved that in the past 12 months? And how are you looking to improve that system even further going forward?
Yeah, really interesting timing, Ross, because we've had a slight shift in the franchise support department, and I'm really proud to bring up Mo, or Mo Shah is now going to head franchise support, and he was working and has been working under Luke for their entire journey together. And the operational side that he brings from working with our corporate clubs is just immense. And so he's now taking the franchise support going forward. And I'm moving into the people side of the business, which I truly love. So I still get to support the franchisees on the people side, but Mo's operational skills are second to none. So providing that in the franchising world means just keeping with a framework that is consistent across all the markets, but then creating a complementary bespoke program per country as well. So really drilling down then into what each country needs in terms of support specifically just for them. And then we have a benchmark and a scorecard that allows us to basically benchmark the franchisees against each other in a positive way, so that we know where we can grow them up, and those that are doing really well can have a pat on the back. So it's a brilliant framework, which we've got to give credit to a lot of the other masters in Anytime Fitness as well. So we've sort of picked and choose what we think is best and put that together, and that's what's going forward.
I think it's a great role. Looking forward to having you there, and many congratulations on that role, and look forward to helping you in any way that we can. Two of your core markets, Andrea, Singapore and Philippines. Now, I suppose Singapore has had a rocky 12 months, as Sean and I just talked about, and of course it's going through a rocky period. It pales into insignificance, however, when you look at it against the Philippines, which, for those that are not aware, is probably one of the hardest hit markets in the world. They have endured one of the longest lockdowns, and it's a very uncertain future in where the Philippines fitness and wellness industry will finally end up. You have got clubs there. There's obviously a lot of distress. There's obviously a lot of uncertainty. How can you provide a level of comfort? How can you support these businesses through what seems like an eternal phase of crisis management?
Yeah. It's a lot. What the Filipino people have had to go through this past 12 months, I just think is they're so resilient. I have all the respect in the world for them, because and maybe a lot of you don't know out there, but anyone from under 18 over 60, 65 have had to stay home this entire period, like 12, 14 months now. So the impact on mental health has been significant. So we have a big focus and drive on mental health through our programs. And then really just supporting the clubs. The consumer fear there is really high. The different countries and how different cultures and the governments have handled the whole COVID situation, communication out to the communities. I do think that the best thing we can do in all the countries is roll out the vaccines. It's part and parcel of where we are at in our situation at the moment, and The Filipino people were just starting to come out in January, and we all saw as an industry that we were starting to get a little bit of an uptick in the market, and that's when the vaccines were starting to be talked about, and unfortunately then it went back into lockdown. And the cases are now, through the roof once again. So everyone's back doing huge restrictions. Once we start getting those vaccines into the Philippines and all the other markets as well, I think that's what is going to be needed to be changing the consumer fear and the whole Filipino situation.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic, and what I think we're seeing here, having maybe an advantageous position of looking over multiple countries, is we see a trifecta. We see government confidence, consumer confidence, and industry confidence. And if you have all three of those, then people are finding a way out of this pandemic, or at least the industry as a whole is finding their way out. Sadly, I think the Philippines and perhaps India at the moment in time are two countries that have neither of those three situations being positive. And again, we wish them all the very best in making sure they turn the corner as quickly as possible. Let's look at perhaps maybe more positively markets for growth, because of course you do have a number of other investments on the horizon. How are you looking at investments across the rest of Asia now? Obviously there's risks, there are rewards, but how are you balancing that up? What's coming up for you?
Given this whole situation, we're still really bullish about the market and about our industry. We just know that we have to do what we can to get through that. And that's largely supporting our biggest markets and helping as many franchisees through that as we possibly can. We know that the recovery is likely to be 18 to 24 months, and if we can see us through to that point, then we'll be back to recovery and growth. Our Singapore market, Hong Kong markets have naturally been doing really well, and even through this whole pandemic, we've still been able to sell franchises to those that are equally as bullish and happy to wait it out. So we have seen some growth, and for the future, we'll be focusing on the outlying markets, the new markets, so Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, those growth markets where we just haven't been able to hit yet, but that's the opportunity for us. And then, of course, with Inspire Brands, it's a plural, we do want to bring on more brands as well and complement the Anytime Fitness footprint and the brands that we have, and expand into those markets where we are strong, so Singapore, Hong Kong, those markets, and of course then we'll enter into the other markets as we go forward.
Now, we've talked earlier conversations about how the pandemic will change the fitness marketplace, how it will change the wellness marketplace, Andrea. How will it change the franchise marketplace? Do you think there'll be a flight to quality, a flight to perhaps brands where people understand there is a track record of success, there is an established franchise support system? Or do you think people will say, okay, I'm going to back a new horse in this race? What do you think the pandemic will do to the future franchise market?
I think franchising is really strong right now, because if when in franchising, if we look at the statistics of what's being Googled, the Googling of franchising has gone exponential. And I think a lot of that has to do with the amount of furloughing or letting go of staff by companies, and individuals have realized that they're exposed when they're working for somebody else and they don't have a backup plan. Once people start to understand franchising a little more, they realize that they don't necessarily have to do it directly themselves as owner-operators. There's all sorts of modalities to get into franchising, such as investment, and that could be up to whatever they can afford at the time. But it gives them that freedom to have something that just ticks over and gives you that residual income. So I do think franchising is solid, and going forth, and actually we'll see massive growth. The companies that will scale will be those companies that are really focusing on culture. And, we were just briefly talking about it before. So Chuck and Dave have done an amazing job of implementing an amazing culture in Anytime Fitness. And our job as the masters is to really make sure that that's pushed down the line. And it always starts from the top, right? So any franchises out there will be successful as long as they're really focusing on the people And at the end of the day, it's our members and our franchisees, keeping them engaged and keeping them profitable, keeping the members still getting their results, and in whatever your brand is, making sure the members are happy. That will be the key focus of the franchise brands. Those that don't may struggle.
Yeah, we've saw a few who have clearly got momentum in the market, which seems to be a great product. And even a good member base, but the culture and the brand doesn't seem to transfer well into a high growth strategy, and they've seemed to have hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
We won't name any names, but it's very interesting to find out in the next couple of years of these up and coming brands. Can they get through those ceilings into future success? Very interesting market. We believe franchising will be a dominant marketplace for the next 12 to 16 to 18 months, ladies and gentlemen. They have momentum, there's capital, there's incredible brands, there's diversity, and I believe now they offer a wider demographic of people more choice. Let's pull back the conversation to you, Andrea. Over the last 12 months, it's been tough, but of course, I suppose on a learning standpoint, you've also gone through a major transaction. What lessons did you learn from that transaction? I mean, obviously, not everyone has gone through an acquisition, so interested to find out what that was like for you personally and some of the things you want to take forward from that acquisition.
Yeah, I think looking back, Luke and Johannes and I realized that we probably couldn't have done it without each other, because there were times where, either one of us would step up and the hours and hours on Zoom calls at that point, because we couldn't do face-to-face even, because we were all in different geographical regions. And just leaning on each other and having that ultimate trust is what got us through, because there was a lot of deep conversations that had, and we all three put in everything that we had into this. So it was just really relying on that trust that we had with each other and the open communication. And that's not to say that we haven't had robust discussions about some things, but that's the backfall, is that we do trust each other to make the decisions, and hence why Luke is now our CEO as well. He was the right person to take the company forward. And just always having that. The lessons, finances for me, talking and listening to the PE guys and go through all those finances is definitely not my strong suit. But I learn enough to, listen and ask some questions through that. But then also understanding who I am and what's important to me and where my strengths lie, which is in that people and organizational development culture side of the business. And that's given me comfort to know that that's my stream, and I'm really happy to be in there, and looking forward to taking the company and the culture forward to what it, bigger than what it is at the moment. So
the future is bright. Let's focus on the future. What excites you most about it, Andrea? There's obviously, you're going through a transitional change in terms of your job responsibility, but maybe we're thinking widely about what the future holds for Inspire. What are you most looking forward to?
The future is exciting. It's whenever I just think about what's in the future, it's exciting, it's opportunity, it's endless possibilities. I think at the end of the day, assessing those opportunities and possibilities with risk assessment and the right due diligence, of course. But there's so much opportunity out there for people to take on, and that's what I would always want to give that message to people, is that you can. If we've done it, then anyone can do it. It's hard work for sure, and perseverance and pushing through, but just knowing that you always have that. And I just think endless possibilities to what people can achieve if they just want to put their mind to it, and reach out to the network and ask questions, be curious, and always be learning.
Great stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation. I hope you did too. Andrea and the team really have built an incredible brand here, and as mentioned before, I think another one to watch. Some incredible chapters to be written and some very exciting learnings and growth to be seen. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to drop out here from live in Singapore for a quick lunch break. make sure we can feed the team and feed some of the speakers. We'll be back live in Singapore with a few new speakers just after lunch, but having some more great conversations. Please visit the virtual exhibition. Please sit on a lounge table and network. There are also some other credible sessions coming up, so we'll see you very soon. Got them.